Ladies and gentlemen, Barry C here with another cryptocurrency video. And ladies and gents, XRP is very close to its second leg up. It's very close to a massive alt season. And with that alt season comes a new parabolic price for XRP. Now, I want to highlight something very important. XRP will be cheap until it's not. Now, as simplistic as that sounds, that is the biggest mistake I have seen people make over and over again since 2017 until now. Year after year after year, there's always a reason for people not to buy XRP. Those are the narratives that people put out. People get caught up in it for whatever reason. And then we get to the height of a bull run, the height of an alt season, and XRP starts rallying, and people always say the same thing: I wish I bought more XRP. Now, to be fair, there's also a big group of people who just hate XRP. You could literally have every bank in the world saying that they're utilizing XRP. XRP could literally do everything it was designed to do and tick every box available. It could fulfill every piece of positive news that we've ever heard about. And people will still turn around and say, well, XRP is trash. There's always going to be those people. But the main thing that I've seen since 2017 until now is I've seen people make this assumption that they'll always have access to cheap XRP. Now, to be fair, we've only ever seen XRP exist in a 4-year cycle. We've only seen XRP from a retail point of view price-wise. We haven't seen the type of prices that we would expect for a utility run. And so a lot of people make this assumption that, well, because I haven't seen a $1,000 XRP, they've only seen XRP go as high as $3.80 back in 2018, or $3 at the start of 2025. So they see $3 and they go, well, it's the number one crypto in finance, and it's not $1,000 yet. Well, it must be a failure as a crypto. And what they don't stop to look at and what they don't realize is that XRP was originally listed for 0.006 cents a coin, less than 1 cent back in 2017. And the fact it's gone from less than 1 cent to over $3 a coin, and at one point in XRP's history, it flipped Ethereum and Bitcoin to be the number one crypto in market cap in all of crypto for a small window in February of 2018. No one ever really looks at that when they're talking about the negativity. Like I said, it's all about spitting these negative narratives, and even if you were to push these negative narratives aside, there's still this situation people find themselves in where they assume that they have time. And I've seen people learn the hard way. I've done this myself. I've made that mistake where I discover a really amazing crypto and I think, oh, I've got time to buy it. And then suddenly you're not paying 1 cent for this amazing crypto, and now you're paying 10 cents, or maybe you're paying 50 cents or $1 or $2. And typically what happens is that when people go, well, I could have paid 1 cent for that crypto, well, I'm not going to pay $1, I'm going to wait for it to go back down. And then now they're paying $2 or they're paying $3. And you can literally go back through the historic charts of XRP, and you can see this happen time and time and time again. So let's go back and start with 2017. So back then, XRP is trading for 0.006 cents a coin, and the main sentiment back then wasn't, oh my God, what an amazing opportunity. The main sentiment was it was a banker's coin and nobody should touch XRP. Because keeping in mind back then, the main reason why people were looking at crypto is that they wanted something different to the existing financial system, the existing framework, and to get away from banks as much as possible. So people were looking at Bitcoin going, wow, this is an alternative, it's decentralized, it can be used possibly completely separately from banks. You know, that was the main thing that people wanted back then. So then when the crypto comes along and goes, hey, we're the first finance-based crypto that ever exists, and we want to work within the existing financial framework to revolutionize and change and modernize our financial landscape, but keep it within the existing framework, people were like, no way, we don't want a banker's coin. And back then, there was no perspective on what that meant or where it was going. Every person back in 2017 was playing catch up. It was completely reactive. And so no one had seen a bull run before, no one had seen a bear market. So when things started happening, whether the market was spiking up or going down, it was a situation where we were like, okay, that's what's happening, I guess. And there wasn't a precedent set. 2017 and 2018 essentially set the precedent for all future crypto enthusiasts. You couldn't look back from 2016 back to 2014 or 2011 and go, well, there's a bear market, there's a bull run, look at those altcoins. There was absolutely no altcoins available to do that. And so then you're looking at XRP go from 0.006 cents to 1 cent to 20 cents to 50 cents to $1 to $3 to $3.80 at the height of 2018. And people were FOMOing like crazy. They're like, wow, this banker's coin that no one wanted, it rallied harder than every other crypto available. And not only that, but it flipped Ethereum and Bitcoin. Like, this was parabolic, life-changing stuff. It essentially created what we all know as the alt season, because people are like, wow, like it went from less than 1 cent to over $3 a coin, and it became the number one crypto. That's the type of volatility everyone got into crypto in the first place for. And then, of course, we saw the bear market come along, and we saw the biggest crash anyone's ever seen in crypto. And once again, there was no precedent for that. We hadn't seen a crash like that before, and so people were panicking. It was complete chaos. But the main thing that I looked at was I was following XRP very closely, mind you. So other than me being frustrated and panicked and worried that we're seeing this massive crash, you're also seeing XRP go crashing back down to about 10 cents. It didn't go to 1 cent a coin. Now you're paying 10 cents. And what I realized by the time we got to 2020 was that we were never going to see a 1 cent XRP ever again. Those days were gone. So now you're paying 10 cents or 15 cents or 19 cents. And eventually at some point you get to 2020 and the market starts going back up again after the Bitcoin halving event. And now XRP is on its way back up to $1, $1.65, $1.80. Even with the SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, we're still seeing the price move rapidly. And sure, we didn't get to the same all-time high or a new all-time high because you had top-tier exchanges delisting XRP. And so people were panicking and people had complete uncertainty about the future of XRP. But it still rallied from 10 cents to 19 cents to over $1. And then sure enough, we got the bear market again. We saw the market dip. But then now you weren't getting access to 10 cents again. Now it was 30 cents or 40 cents or 50 cents. So once again, that cheap XRP that was 10 cents or 15 cents for a very, very long time, now you're paying more. And this happened again, heading into 2024. People had 3.5 years to accumulate XRP for 30 cents, 50 cents, maybe even 60 cents. Definitely below $1. And then November 2024 hits, and then now you're suddenly seeing XRP move rapidly, and now you're paying $1 or $2 or $2.50 or $2.70. Even with the recent crash in early Feb into March of 2025, we didn't see XRP crash back down to 30 cents or 50 cents or 60 cents. And this is what I mean by XRP is cheap until it's not. And you know what happens every step of the way that makes people second guess what they're doing when it comes to XRP is, especially after 2020 into 2021, it was this narrative of XRP is never going to skyrocket again, XRP is dead, it's done for, it's an obsolete crypto, it's never going to succeed as the number one crypto in finance, blah, 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 whatever the negative narratives are. And because people don't see the price action reflect what they would assume the number one crypto in finance should be, it causes hesitation, people panic, people second guess themselves, and then the market starts moving rapidly. And as I said, look at November 2024. Now you no longer have access to your 30 cent XRP or your 50 cent or 60 cent XRP. Now you're paying a lot more. And this has happened every step of the way from 2017 until now. People didn't buy XRP below 1 cent a coin, then they're paying 10 cents, 15 cents, then they didn't buy then, and then now they're paying 30 cents and 50 cents. And look, we still have an alt season to go. So there's no telling how high XRP could absolutely skyrocket this up and coming alt season, but it just means that there'll be a new cheap entry point into XRP. Whether that's $2 or $5 or $10, it depends on how high it rallies. But the main thing you can ask anyone today in the XRP community, if you said to someone, hey, if you could go back in time, and if you could buy XRP for less than 1 cent a coin, 99.9% of people would say absolutely. If they had that opportunity again, they would buy like crazy. And that makes my point, is that XRP is cheap until it's not. And the reason why it makes my point is that people would do anything to go back and buy that cheap XRP, but then they make the mistake. Because here's the thing, right now, between $2 and $2.50 is the cheap entry point into XRP. It's like buying XRP back at 1 cent a coin. People have that opportunity right now, and they're still complaining, wanting cheaper entry points. And what people don't realize is that once the alt season kicks in, once we see XRP take that second leg up and hit new all-time highs, once again, history repeats itself. Now your cheap entry point in the XRP is going to be a lot higher. And the reason why I'm highlighting this, ladies and gents, is because I see this mistake made over and over again. It doesn't matter that we have a lot more information around crypto right now. It doesn't matter that we have the historic charts of XRP from 2017 until now. It doesn't matter that we've seen 2 bull run bear market cycles and we're already halfway through our 3rd bull run. It doesn't matter that we have a lot more information, a lot more crypto platforms, a lot more crypto content creators. People still make the same mistakes over and over again, and that's being highlighted right now. People are still pushing the negative narratives. People are still falling for these negative narratives. These are the same mistakes people have made since 2017 until now. And the reason why I'm saying this now to each and every one of you is that we still have these opportunities to turn things around. Now, ladies and gents, not financial advice, but me personally, I've been in crypto for quite some time. I've been accumulating XRP for quite some time, and I may not necessarily have that same anxiety around accumulating that someone else may have if they just got into XRP a month ago or 6 months ago. But here's the thing, if I was just starting out now, and if I could, from the future, give myself advice, this is me talking to me right now, if I was going to talk to myself and say, hey, look, if I felt like I was sidelined, or I was second guessing, or I was waiting for the best time to buy some XRP, the main thing that I'd want to say to myself is, don't wait for the quote unquote perfect time to enter into a crypto, or the perfect price to accumulate XRP. There's a very old saying from the very early days of crypto, from 2016 into 2017, and it really took off in 2018 and 2019 because we saw the massive market crash and people were panicking. And so people were like, well, why would I want to buy now when the market just dipped another 40%? And the main saying was, it's not about timing the perfect entry point in the crypto, it's about your time in the market. And for those of you who are sitting there going, it's about being in the market. That is more valuable and more important than trying to wait on the sidelines for that perfect entry point, because you know what? You may not get it. And that's what happened every step of the way with XRP. The people who thought, 1 cent XRP, let's see what happens. And then now they're suddenly paying 10 cents after the bear market for the next kind of bear market bull run cycle. Or in some cases, they're waiting for 1 cent, then it goes to 20 cents, then $1, then $2, then $3. And the same thing happened again, 4 years later. People are looking at 19 cent XRP going, yeah, but it was 1 cent last bull run. Maybe I'll get it cheap again. Now it's going back up to $1. Now it's $1.80. Same thing in 2024. People had 3.5, 4 years to buy it cheaply. And they're like, oh, look, I don't want to pay 30 or 50 cents. I want to see it go cheaper. And then now it's $1, $2, $3. And then people say the same thing. Oh, no, I want the 30 cent XRP again. This is what I mean by sidelining yourself, waiting for the so-called perfect opportunity. When the reality is, in about 3 or 4 months, people will look back on today and say to themselves, wow, that was the cheap entry point into XRP. And let's say it's your first day buying. You may buy today at $2.10. And then a week from now, it may be $2 or $1.70. And then 2 weeks from then, it'll be $3. And then it may go to $4 and back down to 3, or then go up to 10, or then back down to 7. It's never going to be perfect. That's why it's so important to just be in the market. Be in the market, so then that way you're not on the sidelines when we see massive price movement. Because you know what is less devastating is going from $2.10 to $20. That is less devastating than going from $10 to $1,000 per XRP. And the people who sideline themselves, they don't have that same level of focus, that same level of determination to get into crypto. And that's the reality, ladies and gents, of when you sideline yourself. You're in a position of waiting. You're in a position of thinking to yourself, I have time. And what people don't realize until it's too late is that crypto moves rapidly, quicker than people anticipate. And where you don't want to be is on the sidelines at the height of the alt season, and XRP is hitting $10, $20, maybe even more, maybe it goes higher. And you don't want to be in a situation where you say, I wish I could have done things differently, or I wish I'd bought more XRP, or I wish I'd actually bought XRP. You want to be in the market, you want to be in a position, the best position possible, to actually make some profits this alt season. And look, if you don't have a bag that's big enough to make profits this time around, then you make some plans, you hold, you carry over your XRP and your crypto and work towards the next alt season. But you don't want to be in a situation where you've sidelined yourself and you're missing out on amazing opportunities. Now, ladies and gents, as always, none of this is financial advice. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you're curious about the other cryptos I hold outside of XRP, consider becoming a Patreon. Click the link in the description below, head across to my Patreon page, and consider becoming a Barry C VIP. There you'll have access to all the cryptos I hold, as well as my buy, sell, and take profit signals in real time.